Sunday. Hopefully, everything works okay. I need to figure out something with my tablet monitor. I have a Cintiq that's used as my monitor, so it's touchscreen. I can draw on it, I can sculpt on it, all the stuff that I need to do as an artist. And it's been not connecting properly to my computer. So I'm assuming it's a cable somewhere, but wiggling cables doesn't necessarily fix it. And it means that I have to fuddle with things to get my computer to actually work because I can't see anything if my screen doesn't work. So yay, that's fun. We are live on YouTube and Facebook, which is exciting. I'll have some stuff that I got in the mail to show you guys. My Domingo has not arrived yet, but it is on the way. It should be here Tuesday. So I'll have it for the next stream, which will be exciting. And next stream is pretty close to, and I will be shipping out Medallion Club boxes. So I will be getting those cast up this week, and it's super. How do I not ruin this? I really, really like it. It makes me squee quite intensely. So hopefully does the same for you guys too. The Medallion Club medallion is this month. 2-month period, but you know what I mean. This box is going to be awesome. The sticker I already have, and it is also very cool. And the treats going in the boxes are always wonderful. I'm excited for you guys to experience this box. So I'll have more information on that next week, and peaks will start popping up fairly soon here. I was going to try and aim to have some up today, but it might be a little bit too soon. Then there's a big gap between when stuff gets posted. It actually might work out really well to start next Sunday, because if we start Sunday, I can peak Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they should start arriving, which will be very exciting. The timing normally isn't quite that good. So I'm excited for that. We have people already in the chat, so I'm going to say hi to a few awesome people that are here already. We have Kristen. Good morning, Kristen. And Gail. Good morning, Gail. Amy. Good morning. Brenda. Good morning. We have Kimberly. Good morning. Ellen is here all the way from the other side of the world. Hello. Laura Rocksmith, hello. Jody, good morning. All right. I am not drinking coffee because I don't have any coffee available, but I have cherry flavored kombucha. It is tart cherry. Should be tasty. My muscles are all very sore, so I apologize if I'm like creaking and you can hear it in the microphone, because we were outside trying to take advantage of some of the nice weather before it gets cold again, because we keep having warm-ups and then snow, and then warm-ups and then snow. But we're actually getting spring, so at least it's not cold constantly, which is always a good thing. So we were taking advantage of that to move some wood that we had stacked into a wood shed that we had built. We had some friends come over and help with that, which was really nice. It's always good to have help when there's big projects like building a shed that has a roof to keep the wood dry, because we have a wood burning fireplace upstairs and one downstairs in the studio, which is kind of cool, and they get used through the winter sometimes, and we've had the wood for a couple years now, so it's nice to have a place for it instead of just tarps, so that's always good. Hold on, I didn't mean to hit that. Okay. Cool. So we have Four Hooves, One Heart Studios. Good morning. Airsoft Marabella. Good morning. We have Kitty, please. Who else do we got? Jamie. Good morning, Jamie. Gasp, no coffee. It's a crime. And then Dawn. Good morning, eat Dawn Nels. Going to miss that. I'm out riding. Oh, shoot. Well, it's recorded, so you can come back. It's all good. There's not anything too crazy yet for the stream, but I'll have peaks for the stream next week of the medallion, which will be very exciting. So let's see. Hi, Hen. Worked on firewood yesterday too. Yeah, so we've got a section for just our normal wood and then a section for all the kindling smaller bits, which will be kind of cool. And then I expanded the garden out a little bit so I can put some more potatoes back there. Put up a little tiny picket fence that we got for ridiculously cheap on clearance at Home Depot. They had cedar fencing and it was normally $50 for a chunk of it. And we ended up being able to get that for how much was it? $12 for a chunk. And it was like assembled picket fencing in cedar, which is awesome. So there's a little bit extra because I cut them short, and I'll be able to make some planter boxes for our trellises for next time, which will be very cool. We have Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Cindy, good morning or afternoon. Alexis, good morning, Alexis. Yeah, I tried to give a heads up this time because I was changing the time from last time, and it's always good to give a heads up, and you never really quite know how that's going to work out. But we have Pam. Good morning, Pam. Right till dark. Kinsey, hello. Jody says, I got Domingo and he is, of course, awesome. The book was a great surprise. So yay, Briar. I'm excited. So I'm excited for the book and I'm excited for the packaging and I'm excited for him. So I'll show him off next time. He's the Fireheart that's done up in a medicine hat pinto. So like the Marguerite Henry San Domingo book. So very excited. And I haven't actually read the book myself, so I'll get to read it now, which is really cool. We have Andrea. Good morning, Andrea. So yeah, I can not surprise, but spoil the Medallion Club medallion a little bit. I have a feeling he might be a little bit popular. It is a fantasy medallion, and I know not everybody loves the fantasy, but this one won't be too hard to change if you want to change it. What else can I say? It's freaking cute. I like it. I don't know what else to say without busting the thing out. But yeah, it's fantasy, so that'll be really cool. I know fantasy's kind of hit and miss, but there's a lot of people that really like it, and I think it'll be really cool. Shannon says, I can't wait to get my tater. Got the shipping notification. Yeah, so my shipper doesn't ship things on Saturdays. So they're not open on Saturdays to do the border transfer. So it's usually 1 to 2 days from when you get your shipping notification to when it pops up USPS tracked, which is exciting. There'll be more of those tracking things going out for the people that paid a little bit later, and I'll be sending those today, and then your ponies will be out flying to all the locations, which is exciting. So the last of the cowboy taters are spoken for unless we have somebody back out from time payments. So we'll see how that works out. Sometimes that happens. So if you see one pop up later, then that is usually why that happened. But I'll be doing time payment, the first time payment draw for our Hasselback tater. Where'd it go? That's Cowboy. They're hiding. The pulled mane bang tail, and then the other guy is in the mold right now. We're still finishing that up. Chris hasn't had a ton of time. We're getting into racing season and he's been working lots, and it's hard to get all the things fit in, especially when spring's coming and all that good stuff. But we should have our new variation with the banded mane or the long banded mane and original tail, so the loose tail. That one should be popping up with his name announcement in the near future, which is also very exciting. But the first time payment batch for Hasselback, which is the pulled mane bang tail, that one will be coming out. Maybe I did need coffee, but I'm not much better. This is about the same as I am on coffee. So that'll be coming out fairly soon. I think I'll do time payments first and do a first batch of time payments and then a batch for time payments a little bit later on in the edition. So I'll probably do 2 batches like I did with the Cowboy Tater version. And then that will allow people to have time. If they can't get it on this one, they can try for the next one. I'll make that announcement fairly soon. I still do have those 2 Firehearts I need to get photos of so I can put them up for sale. They are just the original finish normal version. I have the box and all the good stuff that goes with them too, which is kind of cool. So those will pop up some point. I know I said it would be a little bit ago. I'm still having to do it's the pictures that hold me up. I don't know about you guys, but I hate taking the photos. Just drives me mental. Setting up for it and just makes me mad for whatever internal reason. That's like one of my biggest holdups is taking photos of stuff to post online. But we do have actually in interesting news, a website to replace model horse sales pages. It is called Model Horse Connection. So Model Horse Connection is what's going to be replacing Model Horse sales pages because the Model Horse sales pages page was hacked and they were hijacking it. That caused all sorts of havoc. They weren't able to pay the ransom to get the page back. So now they started a new page. So this one will have all the normal stuff that it looks very familiar. Let's see if I can make this so it works a little bit better on the screen. There you can actually see. So it has your gallery ads for your unpainted things, your painted things, all your briars, all of your stuff. And then the classified versions without the photos. You can search, you can log in, create your account, put stuff up. Same fee structure, I believe, applies. That popped up, I think, just after the stream last Sunday. So it's only been up for a week, from what I've seen. And then they have down here, you can see Carrie Sapp runs it. And then it was MHSP and now it's MHC, not to be confused with Model Horse Place, which is MHP. Gets very confusing. And then we have the one that Darren posted. Wow. The one that Darren posted about the other day, and I apparently can't type because CFOM is totally calm. This is stardapple.com. So stardapple.com is another subscriber-based subscription model selling site. So there's a lot of people that have already joined there. You can sign up at different pay levels, so it's another option. And then of course, I'll give you all the options. Modelhorseplace.com. Can I spell it this time? Ta-da! And then Model Horse Place. So that's actually not a bad deal on a jorts. So yeah, there's a couple of options that we have. If you weren't aware of them, yay, there's more stuff, which is kind of cool. But I saw the other one pop up because I know everybody's been waiting for Model Horse play or sales pages to pop back up. So now we know that there's options, which is always good. And Model Horse sales pages was a nice option, which is now Model Horse Connection, because it's just a little bit cheaper. I know not everybody likes the subscription model, so kind of we have options for what we want to sell on and how we want to buy things, which is exciting. Jody says, because of you, I've learned to really appreciate fantasy. It's kind of fun. It's fun to collect. It's kind of fun to have something that's out of the box. The colors are really cool. It's usually a little bit more creative for sculptors, customizers, and painters to be able to play around with the ideas a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to be stuck in the realistic horse box. It's kind of what we do as a hobby, is the realistic horse box, but there's times when it's like, I just want to be out and doing the fun things. And like Alexis had mentioned on the stream from last week, which if you missed, you should check out, because Alexis and Haley were on last week talking about Briar West and Briarfest. How fantasy can be just, it's nice. It's a nice break. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. So kind of cool. Let's see. Alexis says, so excited to see what awesomeness you have in store for us. Fantasy is always exciting. I think this one's going to be really, really exciting for a lot of people. So it's hard for me to keep the secrets and not talk. Oh, but it's a thing. Other people are saying photo taking is a pain. It's not just me. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I still need to get those fire hearts and whatever else I'm selling in, because I'm going to make some room and just clear out some things that aren't getting painted or that no longer fit how I'm collecting. You guys know there's like the hobby churn of I don't have any more shelf space and I'm going to Briarfest, so I need to shelf space made. Let's see. Teresa. Hi, Teresa. I have a rooster named Pain in the. Can't say that apparently on Facebook and YouTube, but that's okay. Laura Rocksmith. I must be weird, but then again, I was a portrait photographer, so I don't mind it. Yeah, some people enjoy it, some people don't. Realistic horse box sounds like a penalty box. That is exactly what it feels like at times. There's times where I'm like, I don't want to just paint real colors. I want to do something crazy, or I don't want my hair to have to look like it belongs in this world and it needs to have its own life and gravity. And it's like Rapunzel hair, it does its own thing. Yeah, fantasy's fun. And it's a good recharge for me. I know for some people, they don't like not having the rules. And I'm kind of like that in other places in my life, but for whatever reason, fantasy is just fun. And this isn't that far out of the box. I didn't like we've done dragon horses and dragon ponies, dragon miniature horses. And there's fish horses I've done, there's Pegasus, however you say it. I've done hippocampis, I guess would be the more horsey things. And then unicorns, obviously, all sorts of things are on the roster. So I will not give it away, but you guys know. Amy says, I love doing fantasy. Sweet. So I had stickers that I was going to show last time, but our stream went on for a very long time because it was a very good conversation. So I have stickers I can show off. My Paint Pony Studios stickers came in. So we have Whiplash, and it's going to be backwards. I still can't fix that. Stupid. Here, wait, hold on. Maybe I can. If this punts my camera, I apologize in advance. But I can show you Whiplash in the meantime. I won't show you the code, but let's see here. Oh, it says camera not available. Okay. Very comic, cartoony, and of course, it is a wild-looking bronchi thing, so I love it. I can't apologize because the wild things they have my heart in a very special way. I have Northwest Studios that sent me adorable little babies and adorable mummies that are also Appaloosas. So I also can't complain about wild looking appy things. And we have more. I think Northwest Studios, they're swapping to a once every 2 or 3 month subscription model. So that means that there will be, and then these are Wild Boys. So I like the Wild Boys. Da, 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 da. It's kind of fun. Who doesn't love stickers? I can't get enough of them. So there's that one in better color. There's that one in better color. And then together, they're fighty boys. I think the subscription model is changing to once every 2 months or once every 3 months, just to be easier on the artist and shipping and all the rest of it, because it's a lot to do that every month. I totally understand. Even every 2 months with the Medallion Club is a lot, but that's okay. Totally worth it. And let's see what else we've got. Karen. Hi, Karen. How's it going? Maybe show it in the reflection of a mirror. That requires skills that I might not possess in coordination, but there should be an easy way to swap the thing on the camera, but that's okay. And then Darren, of course, carriage driving for April. It is, I can almost do it that way if I could put a light behind it. Carriage driving. I don't have a light handy, so that doesn't work. And then our carriagey pony. So again, Darren's theme is working ponies. So it's like the working man, but for horses. So all the different disciplines and different ways that horses are used in working scenarios. I ended up buying some fresh epoxy. It's super white for filling some of the resins when there's imperfections in them. And I always forget how nice it is to work with fresh epoxy because it gets old fairly quickly and then it's hard to work with. I don't know if I told you guys about the trick that I had heard of, but if you put, so this is nice, fresh, good epoxy, and this is your part B. This stuff tends to get kind of old with time, and then you get crusties on it. Do I have anything with crusties on it? I should have things with crusties on it. You can kind of see it in there. So that's Magic Sculpt. But see the brown stuff? That gets kind of crusty after a while, and you don't really want to use that because it changes the working properties and it changes the color a little bit. And it's not super nice to work with. But you can actually take either your whole container, which I don't know how I feel about that. I would transfer it into like a little cup of some sort. Put your epoxy in there, like a little plastic shot glass or however, whatever you want to use. Fill it with water, warm water, I think they'd suggested, and leave it for a couple hours to possibly overnight. Check it at a couple of hours, drain the water off, see if it should lift all of that orangey brown crud off of the epoxy. And then I've heard of people microwaving it as well and having success with that, but you have to use it right away. I would still, if you're going to lift all the crud off, I would still probably use it fairly quickly and save your revival stage for the epoxy that you're planning on using, because it gets dry and then it accumulates. I don't even know what the chemical reaction is that causes that layer, but so much nicer to work with epoxy that works. So that's kind of fun. In exciting news, and I don't know how this is going to necessarily work out for me because I don't know that I'm going to upgrade necessarily, but I will show you guys. I got an email. What? That, if I make this right size, the Form 4 is coming out. So a lot of the hobby printers are using different brands that aren't the Formlabs printers. The Formlabs printers are a closed system, so it's a little harder to work in. There's a little less experimentation. Your inputs are a little bit more expensive, but they're now putting out the Form 4, which is an upgrade. It's got a bigger print area. It's faster. They're saying that prints that you'd normally do on the printer from before are now 2 hours, which is really cool. 50, I think the print resolution is 50 microns, which is pretty small. The one that I have now is 25 to 50. So I can kind of get there, but this one's optimized for it. I think they have some new materials coming out for it. It's kind of cool. They've got a different print texture that they've added to the print bed, which changes things up a little bit, makes it lift off a little bit easier. So your low force thing works pretty cool. They're kind of promoting the fact that it prints fast. And now your hobby printers are kind of there. So I don't know. When it first came out, the Formlabs stuff was kind of like the higher echelon that you could afford for 3D printers in any hobby space. But now a lot of the stuff like the Mars Elegoo stuff is really good. And I'm going to forget a whole bunch of different brands. Frozen is a really good brand as well. And they're getting really good and really fast, but it's a different technology. It's using, instead of the laser curing everything, it is a LCD panel, or LCD panel that uses light to cure a whole layer. So that's why these ones are generally slower, because they're having to do it with a laser beam and a little point instead of a whole layer at a time. It has its own pluses and minuses. We'll see how it goes. The first ones haven't shipped yet. They're going to be coming out, I think, at the end of this month or early next month. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't know if anybody in the hobby is going to be upgrading. It is a fairly high cost. They're, I believe, just under 5,000 American dollars per printer, which is about what the Form 3 cost, but with a bigger print space and it's faster. So we'll see. I might sell one of mine because I have 2 in the corner there. You can kind of see them. There. I have 2 in the corner there, so I might sell one, maybe upgrade. I don't know. What I have seems to be working, and I need to do more research to see where everything compares because, like I said, those hobby printers are really good nowadays. So I can show you an example. So Frozen always has deals and stuff, and Honey's like, look at all the stuff. But they do a really small one that would do individual micros fairly well. So if you wanted to prototype things or just do small runs of stuff, or just print for yourself, something like that would work out really good. There's a 8K, let's see. So the Sonic Mini 8K, these guys, it prints really nice, really small, so it doesn't take up a lot of room. They're not super expensive from what I remember. $367.99, and I think that's running US dollars, but they usually have coupons for 10% off. Their stuff's really good. The 8K is obviously a better printer, so their Mega Series is the biggest one that they have. Here's their 8K giant thing. You can see how big it can print. I believe this was still done in sections, but the majority of it, like you can see, was done here. So you could almost print a full traditional on it without problems, depending on the pose, which is kind of nice. And it is an 8K screen, so you get better resolution than, say, a 4K screen, blah, 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 blah. But they require air purifiers generally. There's more with the Formlabs printers, there's more automation. So they're starting to work that into the hobby printers nowadays. It's a crazy confusing space. So I won't get too far into it. I know I've touched on it before, but there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens with 3D printing. So yeah, so we're talking about soak the old Part B in water overnight and it'll freshen it back up. Yeah. So oxidization is what Hin's saying causes the brown stuff, and the water lifts it off. So magic. Let's see. We have a question from someone on YouTube. What's the topic here for art? I sculpt horses. You can see them in the background. So that is what I do for a living. And then we have another question here. It says, hope you're fine. Just have a little question about dapples. What's your best technique for smooth dapples? I am primarily a sculptor, but I do some painting, and it depends on your medium. And depends on what kind of dapple you're doing. If you're doing pastels, you have little micro brushes that have little fuzzy tips on them. They work really good. Pulling dapples out with a kneaded eraser works really good. If you're using brushes, a lot of times you want something that's a little scraggly. You don't want a nice looking brush. You'd want something smaller, but that's a little fluffy so that it makes an imperfect dapple. And then a lot of times it's a matter of adding layers and building up the color around the dapple and setting it back in with a layer of color over top of it so it doesn't look like it's floating and out of place. But yeah, it depends on your medium. Gail's saying LED screens. Yeah, so LED screens are what are used on the DLP printers. So yeah. The 3D space is very, very confusing for what you do because there's just so many different resin types. There's so many different printer types, different technology evolving at different rates. But the printers that are made for hobby printing, and I'm not necessarily talking about model horse hobby printing, but I mean hobby printing, like people do it for a hobby within the 500 or 300 to a couple $1,000 range is more a hobby printer, something that most people can afford. When you're getting into the Formlabs printers, it's pushing you out of that into professional spaces. Dentists use them for printing Invisalign and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, hobby printers, there's just so much more evolution quicker because there's so many more people using it and you can iterate faster, and we're kind of being used as guinea pigs no matter what space it is, whether it's Formlabs or whether it's Frozen or Elegoo or whatever company you're going with, because they're watching people use their stuff and making tweaks accordingly. So I found out that kind of the hard way. You think that technology would be more refined, but they're always going in and doing bug edits and things. What are you? Were you of that generation? The tackle glomps text speaking thing? Oh yeah, that was totally a 90s thing. And then talking about your things that you were doing, like verbalizing your actions, drove my dad nuts. And glomping was fun. So that's the thing. Everybody's talking about the RPG stuff in the chat. That's awesome. Caitlin Perez, hello. Sculpting legs on wire eludes me. The clay just shifts around. Any tips? I can totally do this. So we can do question and answer stuff while I'm here too. So I know a lot of you guys just come to hang out, but you're welcome to ask questions too. So for wire on legs, where's a good example of that? There isn't a good example of that hanging around within reach, I don't think. I would generally... Where's wire? I don't even know where wire is. Okay. Cool. I will show you the tail on this guy. So, if there's a wire and you're wanting epoxy to stick to it, you can, if you have the wire in the right position, coat it in super glue and baking soda, and then that will give it some texture. You can also sand the wire. Any sort of adding grit to it will help. So you could sand it. That'll give it a little bit of tooth, and your coarser sandpaper, so the more scratchy it is, the better texture you're going to get on the wire. A tip, if you aren't 100% sure on positioning, so say you're doing... I'm going to have to use other tools for this. So you're doing a leg, and that's your back leg, and your foot's going to be here, right? And then it'll go up into the hip here. If you want to still be able to bend it and you want to use the super glue and baking soda trick just to give you some tooth on it, you would leave your joint here without super glue and baking soda so that it's still movable. And then this part and this part, you could just put a little bit of that super glue on and then sprinkle some baking soda on. Careful, it'll get hot. It's a chemical reaction, but that will give it a little bit of something to stick to. And you can even use baby powder or something else, because your goal isn't to make something hard, which is what super glue and baking soda will do. It's to give yourself something to put tooth on there. You could use anything that has texture. If you want to use sand or like the modeling pastes might work, or I don't know, anything that has grit. So yeah, it gives you some options for that, which is kind of cool. And then you'd still be able to move your joint. These would stay a little bit more hard and static instead of being noodly, because sometimes if you're trying to move wires, then your joint kind of goes bloop instead of that nice sharp angle. So that would make this stronger. You can put tubing over top of your wires too. You can get like hollow aluminum tubing or hollow copper tubing in small sizes at train stores and stuff, model hobby places. And then you could slide that on top of your wire and it would prevent that from moving and might also give more tooth. But hopefully that helps a little bit, because it's hard when clay wants to slide off. You can also add a little bit more solvent to your epoxy. If you're using epoxy, you're saying clay. So if it's epoxy, that would be a little bit of rubbing alcohol or AVE safety solvent. Make it a little bit more liquidy and kind of coat that wire first, and then let that dry, and then it'll give you something to work off of. And then sometimes if I want something that's tiny on a wire and the wire doesn't want to do it, it wants to flop around, then what I do is I'll put a bigger chunk on there and then Dremel it down or carve it down. Sometimes that works too. So hopefully that helps. If you're using oil-based clay, you can also, and this works for epoxy too, take a little bit of wire, a very, very fine wire, as tiny as you can kind of get, and then just wrap your wire in that. And then that will give lots of tooth for it to hold on to. So those are some options. What else we got? Old style chat boards. I love the old style chat boards. When you put like the little double dot. What even is that? It's not a semicolon. Like the two dots, and then whatever the action was, like a model horse blab, like RFOL, and then the end dots, and it would pop up with the little animated emoji going, ah, like the random mail one. That was my favorite cosplay thing. You guys are distracting me with all your chat. AIM was my preferred method of chat. Perfect. Glad that helped. Life saving. Spent 2 hours squishing clay around and learning what I don't like. Yeah, there's lots of tips and tricks, and you're welcome to come in and ask, and I can help. It's a little bit harder sometimes because I want to demonstrate things. One day I will get around to finishing some YouTube videos and posting them for you guys, and that'll make it a little bit easier. I have in the past posted stuff on Dapples and customizing. Here, I can show you guys this is going to be like YouTube Inception for some of you. How do I get in there? Okay. YouTube Inception in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, 1. There we go. So this is me currently talking, which is kind of strange. This is like YouTube Inception, but my channel is just Chrysalis Studios. I've actually got a lot of subscribers and a lot of videos because I post the ones that I do here, so it kind of counts. This was last week's chat with Alexis, and I did need coffee. I apologize. Last week's chat with Alexis and Haley. I have videos on customizing. So there's some stuff here on how, like, what to cut out to reposition a briar and move legs around, which is actually something that took a long time for me to figure out, what to move out of the way so that I wasn't having to fight things or it wasn't warping things as I was moving stuff. The theory behind it's kind of cool, so I would suggest watching that if you get a chance. There's building different supports, so that's kind of what might be helpful as well. There's sculpting hair on a flat area. I'm going to do a more 3D one soon. I did one for Briar, but they don't repost it. So it was for Briarfest one year. If you saw it, yay. If you didn't, ask them to repost it. So this is what to move and how. So what to cut out for your best opportunity. There's sculpting a neck. There's dremeling and all the different information on that. We did the live auction. Oops. Live auction for Briarfest last time. That was hilarious because we had the one horse go for 60 some odd grand and it was ridiculous. But yeah, check it out. There's a blooper reel from when I did my dynamic hair workshop from Briarfest. It's kind of fun. It doesn't take very long. It's 1:46 and it's, you guys know me. It's hilarious. It's kind of fun to watch. So yeah, I'm going to try and post more resources on there soon. Biter derailed my universe. So hopefully, like, I've even paid somebody to edit the videos that don't exist yet because I wasn't able to film any content. But soon, hopefully. So hopefully that helps, Caitlin. You're more than welcome to come back. I'm here every Sunday pretty much. Ask questions. Have I ever wrapped it in tape? Yes, and I hate it. Because I run into the tape and it makes me mad, and then I want to throw stuff across the room. Running into baking soda and super glue is similar, but you can at least Dremel through it without the tape wanting to explode. Some people will use tape as a base. I rarely do, but that is an option. You can put painter's tape on it and it will give it tooth. You can take that painter's tape and cover it in baking soda and super glue. And I think Laura Skillern was using that technique. And I don't know if she was the first, but she's the first that I saw that was doing stuff like that and covering it for hair. So you'd have like a big chunk of hair. You'd put your painter's tape on it. You cover it in, I like how it's my rooster do now. You cover it in baking soda and super glue, and it would harden to give you a support to work on. I would much rather put a whole bunch of epoxy on it and Dremel it down, or use something behind that epoxy like oil-based clay, monster clay, Fimo, anything to provide a backing that you sculpt against. I prefer that. It just makes me less mad. But what makes people less mad in their own universe is different than what makes me less mad. So try different things and see what you like. Because I hate it doesn't mean it's wrong or you won't love it. You might find it to be the perfect technique. So that's why we talk to everybody. Yeah, soft, like, why is my stuff not in my ordered? Damn it. I have some tubing. Is it over there? Hold on. It might be over there. Give me 1 second. If you hear crashing, it's not my fault. Aha. I think I might have found stuff. Nothing is within easy reach. I've got like acrylic rods and stuff everywhere. So you can get really tiny like music wire, which is really strong. It is closed at the tip right now, but that is an aluminum tube that you can use to support stuff, and you can bend it. So you could put your wires. This is an acrylic rod, but you'll get the idea. So if this was a wire instead of acrylic rod, you could slide that inside of there. And if this is, say, aluminum and really, really bendy, then you're going to be able to, there's one of the open tubes. So yeah, you could slide your wire right in there, and it would keep the aluminum wire from being super bendy and noodly. It would keep your bone joint solid. And Lynn Fraley first showed me that technique, that you could do that. And then it would keep your bone solid. So you could use this for like a cannon bone, which is one of the places that wants to be noodly really, really easy. And then that will allow you'd leave a gap between this joint and the next joint. So you could go your cannon bone here, and then your upper leg here, and then have a space in the middle for the knee, leave that open so that it's still flexible wire. And then you can have really movable joints for positioning your armature, but not have your bones turn into like spaghetti. Yeah, it's fun. What else is in here? I get distracted so easily. There's so many things. Yeah, so that's one trick that works really well. There's bigger tubing you can get. You can get square tubing. If you want to have cannon bones, I would suggest something like this. It's kind of nice to have the aluminum because it's not super flexible, but you can bend it if you want to. So if you need to make an adjustment for whatever reason, then it's not out of the realm of possibility. Brass is still bendable, but it's a little harder than aluminum. So go to your local hobby shop and see what you can find. It's kind of fun. And then, yeah, you can take your bone and then just wrap a little bit of wire around it. It would kind of look like a unicorn horn. It would just spiral. And then that gives you tooth, but then your wire is getting really thick. So you can't use it as easily for something like a cannon bone unless you make your wire smaller. And if you make your wire too small, then it's even harder and it wants to be more noodly. So it's like a balance of what works for you, what you're comfortable with, and go from there. Let's see. Love the idea of smaller gauge wire. Clay for medallions. Clay for medallions is a personal preference. I sculpt sometimes in super sculpey firm. That works nicely for some things because you're able to, it's workable constantly. And when you bake it, then it's solid. And then you can carve it. But it's not as nice to carve as epoxy. And sometimes I'll do medallions in epoxy because I feel like it. And sometimes I'll do medallions in Magic Sculpt because I feel like it. And then that's more nice to carve at. Monster. Yeah, did I say Monster Clay? I'll do it in Monster Clay because it's nice to carve. You can kind of work at it forever. You can spray it with sealant to harden it up. You can spray it with an upside down can of air, and that sprays the coolant, which is cold on my lap, by the way. Don't aim that at anything that you want to keep, like your eyes or your hands. But it sprays the refrigerant or the coolant, which is the propellant, which makes the air go. But you can even hear it. The crisp sound is the freezing component. So you can take clay Where's clay? Like this guy. And see how that freezes them? Yeah. But very not nice for the skin. So don't spray it on your skin. Make sure you're smart about it. Maybe don't spray it at your face, even if the horse is in front of it, like I just did. But you guys know the deal. And you can heat it up and melt it, and you can heat it up and make it softer. So it's nice to be able to play with that. Whereas Sculpey and epoxy, not as much. You can put your epoxy in the fridge to firm it up if you want to do detail work. It'll also slow down the curing process. You can also speed up the curing process of epoxy by forcing it in an oven. I can't remember offhand what the temperature and time is. Sarah Minks talked about it. So if you searched online, force curing epoxy or oven curing epoxy, it will pop up. But that's kind of helpful if you're working on stuff. I wouldn't put anything that can melt. So if you're doing a custom, maybe don't put that in the oven. Only original works that are all epoxy. You could try it. Heat guns and heat lamps sometimes will help it cure faster too. I've seen Mel Miller and other people use that way. So yeah, it's a lot of personal preference. I would suggest getting a little bit of material from a whole bunch of people or a whole bunch of sources and kind of seeing what you like. Play with it. There's going to be a learning curve for everything, so you might not love it at first, but at least you get a kind of a feel for it. Talk to people who specialize in that material, and it'll help you understand how it works. If you're running into a particular problem, say you really don't like something like epoxy curing so fast, then you have options. Other materials would do it differently. So kind of feel it out, see what the pros and cons for each are. Christina Riley and Darren, I think, have done videos on epoxy. I think I touched on it in one of my videos at one point at the beginning when I first started doing stuff on YouTube. So you could check that out. But yeah, super cool. Someone send her caffeine. She can't speak words. And I'm so behind on chat. So if I'm reading really old comments, I apologize because I'm going on rants because I get excited about talking about materials and things. Watching the auction. I remember you doing that. Amy, thank you for the caffeine. Workshop tour. That is hard to do with this camera. So I will have to do that mobilely at some point and then show you guys what everything looks like. But you can see behind me that there are paints, there are ponies, there are things in progress. There's stuff everywhere on all of my shelves. I've got my printer there. It's just everywhere. The 3D printers are here. We have some biters, another anatomy reference model that's kind of like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh, he's behind the sticks. That guy. He has all his muscles. Yeah, there's tons and tons of stuff all around. So one day I will go through and show you guys my collection and all the stuff that's going on and hide all the secrets because you're not allowed to see those. Some people use foil. I like using foil sometimes underneath things. You can see there's foil under in the hair and the tail. It's good for blocking things out. It's not so good if you could wrap wire in it. I wouldn't suggest it. Laura Rocksmith says, I've had baking soda and super glue crumble, so I tend to stay away from it. I've never had that issue. So I think it depends on the brand of super glue you're using and maybe the type of baking soda. Some baking soda isn't real baking soda, apparently. They're using synthetics now for stuff, and it doesn't work the same. So yeah, that's always fun. I love when they change products and we're using like chemicals on top of chemicals with all the paints and sealers and epoxy and solvents and things. And you never know when they're going to change something and it's going to be different. And then your sealer that's the favorite thing ever just turns into poop. I wish I could put like a poop emoji on the screen right now. Darn it. Some people like mesh for bases for hair and bodies and things. Some people like foam. Foam is questionably stable. I don't know if I would use that necessarily on a custom because it can degrade over time, especially when exposed to glues and things. Don't know. There's a lot of big question marks with the materials we deal with sometimes. Let's see. Trying to catch up on questions, and there's like random stuff. My brain's like pinging off the walls. Amazon sells the aluminum. Yeah, sweet. So you can get the Amazon version of, looks like a straw. Your little aluminum thing. You'll need to figure out what gauge works best. I have no idea what gauge this is. So that's why I like going to the hobby shop, because I can go, does this fit in that? Okay, I can use that and not end up with like ones this big. But some people are better at gauges and stuff than I am. Sculpey will shrink a bit also when baked. I've never noticed a massive difference. I've done lots of medallions on them, and they're about the same size as I started with, because I tend to sculpt them too big. So then making them smaller would be great. If you're trying to do something to say you were trying to sculpt a saddle to fit on a briar, it might not fit perfectly once it's baked. So there's that. But you can also get cosclay, which is flexible. So that would give you the ability to put flexible, like it would have some movement to go back on there if you want to do hair or whatever. But I've never noticed a massive difference. So gonna throw the big bucket of sticks. Got really big sticks in there too. Off of my table. But yeah. Can you do multiple bakes? Yes, I have done multiple layers and baked multiple times. I don't know how it would work for really, really thin layers on top. And I always reduce the baking time a little bit if I'm doing multiple layers. So I won't fully bake that first layer. I'll do it a little bit on the shorter end, and then I will kind of shorten the times a little bit. And that seems to help. But I've done 3 layers, I think, and not had problems. And lots of people on YouTube and everywhere else do multiple layers and don't have problems. You can sometimes get cracking. Your biggest issue is temperature change. So I put a little tinfoil dome around whatever I'm baking, and I have a little special oven that I use down here that's just a little toaster convection oven. But you'll want to bake it at the temperatures that they recommend, not to exceed those temperatures, and then put the dome over it, let it bake, open the oven door when it's done, let it cool off very slowly, and that's going to prevent you from burning it and also prevent things from cracking. Still might happen. You still got to be careful. And there is a super Sculpey solvent that you can get that'll soften the clay, which also makes it bond better to itself. And then there's a super Sculpey liquid version, which is like an adhesive glue that you can also use to bond pieces together. So if you're doing, I would put a layer of the adhesive glue stuff on whatever you're doing if you're doing a thin layer, and then put your Sculpey on top and work with the fresh stuff on top of the baked stuff. That's going to be your best chance of success. If you put a layer on over top, it might crack off without either more of the solvent or that glue to bond it. So, what monster clay do you use? Anything to smooth it. Yeah, monster clay, they sell isopropyl murostate, specifically on the Monster Maker site, which is the company that makes the stuff. It is the best solvent I found for it. You can use Goo-Gone, you can use alcohol, you can use what else can you use? I think I've used Vaseline on it, because Vaseline works for Fimo and Sculpey and the polymer clays as well. And it's just like or olive oil. It for whatever reason is a good solvent for it that's gentle. So there's different ones that'll be more gentle or more firm depending on what you're doing with it. So yeah. Hin says I use a heater fan to speed up epoxy. Laura Rocksmith says I use a space heater. Never use heat with 3D prints. Hair dryer for Karen. Radioactive sharks. So Julia's saying there's a channel on YouTube that does a lot of stuff in Primo, I think, which is making like a polymer clay. Radioactive shark kind of thing. On the Border, I think is his name. Oh, cool. I'll have to check it out. There's tons of people doing stuff with polymer clay and different stuff. So there's always tricks to find. And there's always somebody finding some like crazy, awesome thing you would never know. Like, if I use this apple juice as a solvent, it does amazing thing. You never know. You might find crazy stuff. So it's worth surfing channel. Have I ever frozen clay? I've frozen monster clay in the freezer, and I've frozen epoxy in the freezer. Both. Not on a pony though. Don't put your custom in the freezer. That temperature change is probably not ideal. You can put it in the fridge. Also not super ideal, but you can do it. Who's that guy you just showed? That is Bombus, the unicorn dude. He is not done yet. Super glue doesn't work. No, gel super glue, not at all. Don't ever use the gel stuff. And try the liquid's your best bet. And if you can find the name brand stuff, that seems to work a little bit better. It has to be CA glue, so cyanoacrylate. And yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. I've had some people have had a really good luck with dollar store stuff. Really depends. I would do a test and see, but I've never really had stuff crumble. The gel stuff never even set for me. It didn't work. There's something in it that counteracts that chemical reaction. You can also use an accelerator spray. So this is a foam safe accelerator spray. Some of them aren't. So if you're using a foam inside your horse, make sure you're minding what foam reacts to. This will, if you put, so you could put Super Sculpey, or not Super Sculpey, brakes, clutch, disengage brain, re-engage brain, at last thought. You could put super glue on your armature and then spray it with this, which bonds it instantly. Like it instantly hardens it. It's not the same as baking soda. Baking soda will make that bond stronger. This just speeds it up. But it would give you texture to put clay and stuff over top. So that is another option that I didn't think of before. But for whatever reason, the gel stuff doesn't work. Let's see. Humidity. Baking soda absorbs moisture. We don't have moisture here, so that might be another part of my thing. Baking soda does absorb moisture, and that might affect your chemical reaction with all the stuff. But yeah, so keep that in mind if you're in a really humid spot. Also, resin curing doesn't love humidity. There's bubbles. Anybody that's in a humid area, if you're even doing a medallion, you will probably need to pressure cast it because you're going to get bubbles. That's what humidity does. Or get a dehumidifier and run it and pull all the moisture out of your house. We are, I think, 25% humidity here, which is very dry. And then the house gets drier. And then when we're casting, there's not baking soda, baby powder that we use with the castings. So that makes it even drier. So, Hin says I like to use 12 gauge wire for traditionals or 10. That's a good kind of reference point for where to be at. 4 to 5 millimeters for Venti and Curio. Sweet. Cause clay is awesome. Using it to make my P-cork. Definitely need coffee and English lessons. Peacock horse medallion. It's super cool. So cause clay, for those of you that don't know, is a polymer clay that is flexible when baked, like super flexible. Like you could take it and move it around like a worm. It's quite nice. Use a heat gun to bake thin layers of epoxy. Oh, do you scratch? Sorry. Too many things. My brain's like, we've had a full day worth of thoughts. We are done. The nap time. Karen saying, do you scratch the first layer as well when you add the glue? The second layer? I recommend ... If you're putting glue straight, like, are you talking? I would always roughen up any texture if you're adding stuff on top. So whether that's a briar or a resin and you're adding epoxy, I would always wash it and then scratch it. Sometimes I'll even take my carbide scrapers and scratch, which is also cathartic. Like scratch right into the surface to provide like something to grip onto. If it's sculpted smooth or sanded smooth and polished, it's going to have a way harder time of gripping and your stuff isn't going to want to stick. So however you're doing that, whether that's before adding Fimo or Super Sculpey to another layer of Super Sculpey, even if there's glue. If you're putting baking soda and super glue on something, if you have the ability to roughen that surface, do it. It will help. I've seen a few people have issues with epoxy lifting, and there's a whole bunch of reasons for why that might happen. But you got to give it your best shot. And to do that, try all the things that might help you out, like roughening your surface before applying stuff. What else do we got going on? Laura Rocksmith saying if frozen original finished briars and they've been fine. So you can try it. Might work. I don't like big temperature changes. It freaks me right out. And then if you're doing something like that, you always want to make sure that your hollow models have their breather holes, because the temperature will change the air inside and you could get cracking even just from that. So if you're taking an air hole out, always put it back somewhere, even if it's in a discrete spot. That's what a lot of people do, because sometimes having the big hole in the wall isn't super appealing. P-Cork. The wheels are turning, but nothing is happening. Can you see the smoke? It's coming. Amy's like, I'm naming one of these casts P-Cork just for you. Oh, there's so many funny jokes about that. Like the feathers are like the pop the cork type poof emoji thing. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, that's a lot of questions, which is cool. I really like that. We don't do that very often. So yeah, you're always welcome as a refresher to ask questions if you have them. I have many knowledges in my brain, and sometimes they leak out. And if they're not going to come out in a YouTube video and you have a question, just ask it, because generally speaking, I will have the answer or know how to kind of get you there maybe one day. So yeah, I guess on that note, I can't tell you more about the Medallion Club medallion just yet, but I will start to post peaks next Sunday, because that will be the perfect timing to do that in the reveal and have them ship and have them arrive. If you're waiting on your tater from the last batch that you paid for, the ones that paid the first day or two, I believe all of those have tracking numbers, and the people that paid just recently, which would be kind of your final payments, those ones are going out today. And then I think I have 1 or 2 stragglers, and if for whatever reason they don't pay, then those taters will pop up in a batch later, probably of Hasselback, and then I will post about the time payment lottery that I'll be doing for Hasselback. I'll do those first. I have, I think, 10 castings for the first batch, but I'm going to try and make it to 20 before I post those for the first ones of those guys. And then the bitey things are still going out. I have more behind me, so I'm still sending out email notifications as I'm close to ready for those, and then they're going out in the mail as they are ready to go. Oh, what is this week's hyperfixation? So the pens are taking a little bit of a hiatus for now. I did find a magic ink that worked really well. I think I showed you guys last time. You can see it in my TWSBI Eco that is covered in studio dust. I like the two. So these ones you can see. So you can see all the Pearlex glitter kind of settle, which is magic. Look at that. Who doesn't want to see that, right? So this is the, let's see if I can show you what it looks like. Where's paper? There's paper behind me. So this is the Noodler's Southern Sunset or Apache Sunset with gold Pearlex mixed in. So it has some of the gradation. Come on. There you go. Some of the gradation of the original Noodler's Southern Sunset or Apache Sunset, which is lovely. It's like the yellow to orange of my logo, which is freaking perfect. I will show you. Look. It doesn't get quite that yellow, but the oranges are pretty darn close. And then it's got just that hint of magical gold sparkle.
I haven't found a way to put interference blue in there yet. I'm going to try it. It might not work, but we got to try. But it's taken a little bit of a hiatus because they're spending too much money on ink. Thing. I do have the pen molds, but I didn't get the pen inserts, so I can't make pony pens just yet. The inserts are coming so that I can do the outside in resin, put some ponies and stuff in there, which will be really cool. And then have the fountain pen part put in there. So this is the part I'm missing, is the actual pen part. So I can't really do the pen until I have all the pen. What is this pen thingy? I've been playing with fountain pens, for those of you that haven't been in the loop. And there might be, like, there might be a few of them that I have. Some of them are just cheap ones off of, like, Temu for, like, $2. Works really well. I would highly suggest the Jinhao pens and the Temu pens, or if you want something cheap that's really good for art and fine lining, the Kakuno by Pilot is like amazing. This is the extra fine nib, and they have little smiley faces on them, which is fantastic. And then you can use whatever inks you want in them. So if you wanted to use custom inks, you'd have to get the cartridge for that. But the cheap Temu ones, or you can find them on Amazon, this pulls ink into that reservoir, and this is a gold glitter ink. I just like it because you can mix and match inks and put whatever colors you want in there. And there's so many ones that just shift and change colors. Like you can see these guys down here have like they call it sheening. So it changes colors. Lots of them have glitter. Blue Dragon up there is a sheening one. This has a lot of color variance in the ink as it goes down on the paper. So it's almost purple on the edges just naturally. And they call that, why can't my brain remember things today? It's one of those days. Shading. So if it has a cool effect on the outside of your letters, which I never knew was possible until I stumbled into it and was like, how did I not know that fountain pens existed and that they do all sorts of cool stuff? But anyways, it wasn't technically my hyperfixation of the week. I've been kind of, the pens are kind of on hiatus, continues to talk about pens. I get excited. I can't help it. Somebody asked and I had to, yeah, anyway. What have I been hyperfixating on? I have tons and tons of things planted to go outside. So I've been kind of thinking about how to build. We built trellises last weekend, and I painted them, and they're in a really cool blue color. Let's see if I can pull it up on my phone and I can show you guys. So that's kind of my hyperfixation of the week. I have cheese I want to make because we have to talk about the food, the cheese. And then there was something else I wanted to make. I made soap, but I have to wait to use it for like 3 weeks. So there's that. And then I dug up more of my garden. So all of that space, anything that's dirt, I dug up, and then I put that little fence in the back, and I got to paint my back fence back here because it is looking like crud, but that's okay. That happens. Let's see if I have fences. And it was Turbo's birthday on Thursday, so we went and said hi to Turbo because you have to do that. So you can kind of see here, I made that trellis and painted it pretty blue, and there'll be a big double one that goes here, and then there's another one that goes on the other side. So you can see there's one over by the fence that we'll have to put into the ground at some point so that I can put squashes and beans and peas and flowers up it. And then if the camera would ever focus, there's this guy here, and then I made a double trellis. There's the one by the fence. Focus, phone, focus. It's like my brain. It doesn't. Oh, it had it. Oh, it had it. Oh, so close. It likes the reflection better than it likes the real thing. And then there's the double wide. So I'll put squash. I have loofah sponges, which are actually, you think you'd find them in the sea, but you actually grow them like a cucumber, and then they dry, and then you have those, like, they look like they have the clover inside of them, and they're all spongy. It's a cucumber kind of squash. Crazy. So yeah, I'm going to plant some of that stuff outside, and I've been trying to figure out all the details of what
plants where and organizing my garden. And that's pretty much all I've had time for between biters and shipping boxes for all of our taters and getting some fun things ready for Briarfest that I can't tell you about. So yeah, and I've been building things like the trellises I put all together myself. I put the fence boards all together and made them for the back. We built the little wood shed. So yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, thanks, Julia, for talking about my hyperfixation of the week. Hopefully it'll be a more interesting one for next week. I tend to watch videos as I work on YouTube and stuff, and that tends to fuel my hyperfixations. The pens are still, there's like a whole paper thing attached to the pens that I haven't talked about yet. There's different kinds of paper, like this is called Tomoe River, and it lets the ink sit on the top, so all those special effects you can see. Like, look at that one. Look at the blue purple one. Oh my god. Yeah. What was that one? I need that one. Kyanite du Nepal by J. Urban. So yeah, that's the thing. And then getting into mixing them is so cool. But anyways, you guys get me excited and I can't shut my mouth hole. But yeah, I've been sticking boards together. So there's that. That takes away my brain thing. Hard cheeses. I actually want to make mozzarella, soft cheeses. And then I've been making butter too, as I see like whipped cream come on sale because they overstock it and they sell it for cheap. And then you can make butter for cheaper than you can buy butter. It tastes better. Anyway. My house looks huge. It is pretty big. I don't remember how many square feet it is, but it's a corner house and we got it for a really good deal because there's a lot of repairs that needed to happen inside and outside, including the garage. But yeah, we've got a really nice southern, that side space with the trellises is all south facing. So by adding those 3 trellises, it's another 300 and some odd square feet of growing space that optimizes my southern facing stuff. And then we got a little greenhouse to go on top of the garage, which gets all day sun because it's on top of the garage, kind of on that south side. So it'll be cool. I'm excited. And hopefully I don't kill everything because even the seedlings are starting to need so much water. We'll see how it goes. Maybe my hyperfixation for next week will be garden related or possibly dahlia related because I started to get into dahlias a little bit last year. They're a type of flower. It's really, really pretty. And the dollar store sells bulbs and those bulbs seem to grow really well. So they're really pretty. And there's like 500 different kinds. They've got a weird genetic disposition. So there's a whole bunch of different mixes of things you can get. You can get frilly flowers. You can get big, giant, like they call them dinner plate ones. You can get different colors. You can get multiple colors. You can get ones that look like little round puff balls, and you can get ones that are all spindly. And there's so many different pretty dahlias. If you've never looked at dahlias, it's a slippery slope, but you should do it. They're pretty. I have so many loofah babies. So yeah, that's the thing. You guys get excited when I get excited. It's just kind of fun. So for people that are like, this is not Model Horse related, I apologize. I can't help myself. They started it. The chat started it. We'll buy for soap. I'm gonna try and make a mold, like a medallion mold, and pour soap into it. But I haven't ventured into any of the scents or pretty colors or anything yet. So I'm trying to keep it reasonably simple. But I did make soap with lye. So it's like the cold process real soap. It's not a melt and pour thing. It's like actual soap. So I think I talked about it like 2 streams ago. I showed pictures. Soapers Haven on Facebook. Best group. So many pretty soaps. Even if you just like pretty things, it's nice to have pretty things show up in your timeline. So there's that. Okay. Oh my God. So many rabbit holes. Do the Dahlia rabbit hole. Oh my goodness. It's worth it. So worth it. But yeah, even just like if you're a sciencey genetic person, looking into how they crossbreed to get all the different variations and how many different variations there are, I think it is the most genetically diverse, like breeding type wise of any flower, or it's the second, one of the two. I can't remember, but they're crazy. Everybody's excited for soap. Oh my God, there's so many things to do. I have pens and soaps, and I want to make thermoses, and I want to do art, and I want to ship ponies, and there's too many things. Grow ponies. Be fun if you could just, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go on 15 more rants, so I'm gonna stop myself because my brain was like, "Did you know that you can get cucumber molds and it's like squash molds that you just put over top and you could do little heart shapes? You could probably do a pony." But we're leaving it there. I have no idea what water clock is. I'm leaving that for the next time. But yeah, I will be back next Sunday with Peaks of the Medallion Club Medallion. I will talk about all my hyperfixations for the week if I can remember them all because my brain goes 17 million places all the time. Even now, it's like you forgot these ones, but we're not going to talk about them. There's only so much time in a day. I gotta ship ponies. Julia's like, wait. Oh no. So yeah, I'll show you peaks next time. I'm not ready for the chat to be dead. You guys can keep chatting in the chat. Just keep the comments going. I will come in and check on you every once in a while and make sure you're live. Bring you snacks. I can bring you cheese. Yeah, so there's the thing. But I'll show you peaks next week for the club. Hopefully, we will have Hasselbacks announced soon for when the time payment lottery is going to be for that. And we'll go from there. I'll show off all the swag. I showed off the sticker for Hasselback, and then the new guy, which I will release the name for very soon, will also have his own colored sticker, as well as the I Heart Taters one that will be different for each of them because they have different mains. So I had to do different stickers. Cost like $5 million to do all the add-ons, but it's okay. It's fine. It's worth it for the swag. We like shiny things. So on that note, I will not look at my chat anymore or I'll go on more rants. I love you guys very much. Do not feed the trolls. Go be awesome hobby enthusiasts that spread love and wonderfulness. Ignore certain drama pages and things that happen because there's so much of that. But we like the good stuff. And if you missed the last stream, and you need a recharger on like good hobby juju and vibes, I would check it out because it's just 3 hobby people chatting about cool hobby stuff. And I found it very invigorating, and hopefully you guys did too. If you guys want to see more people pop in as special guests on the stream, let me know who you want to see. I can't guarantee I can get everybody, but you never know. So I will see you guys next time, and maybe I'll have, hopefully sometime soon, I'm torn between wanting to show you all the things I'm doing for Briarfest and keeping them secret so that they're fun. Oh, yeah. So if you have a preference, do you want to be surprised or do you want to see some things in advance? You guys are probably going to be like, just send us spoilers. Anyway, okay. I love you. I will see you next time. I have to feed reptiles as well. So enjoy. Don't feed the trolls.